everybody. I'm your host, Brittany Jones Cooper, and welcome back to Build at Home. Today, I'll be chatting with Colton Underwood, who you know and love from The Bachelorette and The Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise. But today, he's here to talk about his new book, The First Time. But before we bring Colton on, I want to remind you guys about the organization No Kid Hungry. There are a lot of kids who rely on school for their daily meals. And because of school cancellations, 704 million school meals have gone unserved. So you can visit nokidhungry.org if you're looking for ways to help or if you want to donate and help out these communities. Now I want to welcome Colton Underwood to Build at Home. Hi, Colton. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Where are you holding up?
Good. I'm in Huntington Beach with Cass's family, so we're
Um,
doing well. We're all hunkered down.
yes. And you actually had COVID-19.
I did really early on, and yeah, I don't know. Now looking back, I think maybe that was a good time if you're going to get it early on. I don't know. I think I used the hopefully used the platform to just speak out and let people know that it affects people of all ages. Just because I think at the time I got diagnosed, there was still partiers on the beaches in Florida. So it's a crazy time, and things have been changing rapidly.
hmm And how did you know that things were a little more advanced than just a normal flu? What kind of was the time that you were like, I need to go to a doctor?
Well, yeah, I thought I had the flu at first, and then I woke up one night with night sweats. The bed was completely soaking wet. My body was aching, and I was gasping for air. So I decided to get up and go to the bathroom. And when I went to walk to the bathroom, I had to like sit down on the toilet just because I was like exhausted.
Wow.
So I think in that moment, I was pretty much like, yeah, I'm pretty much checking every box off for this thing. So I need to get tested. And I was very fortunate and very lucky to get tested the next day.
Gotcha. And did anybody else around you have it? Like, did Cassie end up getting it or any of your family or her family?
No, see, that's the strange thing is nobody got it, and I
Wow.
think it was in due to practicing social distancing, and we followed the guidelines from the local health department, and the doctor, as soon as I tested positive, as far as gloves, masks, dropping food off, water up, when I was in self isolation within the house. So I think that was probably a lot to do with them testing negative the
Mm.
next couple weeks.
That's really important because I think that drives the point home that social distancing can help and
Yep.
to prevent the spread of it. So that's really powerful to hear. And
Yeah.
now, do you have any lingering effects or do you feel like Colton?
No, I'm back to normal. I feel completely back to myself. I've actually been going on runs in the morning, and it's my lung. That was what I was scared of the most, is maybe not feeling like I had all my lung capacity back. And I'm doing great. I'm doing fine, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can help now between blood donations and plasma donations and supporting. I love the fact that you guys are supporting No Kid Hungry. That's one of the charities that caught my eye right away, and
Awesome.
I love that you guys are supporting them.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us are just looking for any way to feel useful. And so I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah. And so let's talk about the book. I finished it this morning, and I've been a huge fan of the Bachelor franchise since day one. And I have read a few books from people who used to be on the show. And I always really appreciate that point of view because I learned so much about you. So was that important for you to just tell your side of the story?
Yeah, I think the overall goal of the book, now that I've sort of had some time to reflect on it, was feeling like I took ownership of my life back, and sharing stories that I might not have shared on TV, or maybe sharing a situation that might have got cut out of an
Mm,
edit. It was just important to me to really sort of let everybody in. I know that sort of sounds backwards. To get my life back, I needed to give it all back to you guys, just in my own words. But I had so much fun writing the book. It was very emotional, very therapeutic, and hopefully, if it helps one or two people out there with any point of view. I talk from my relationships with God to my
mhm.
relationships to my parents to even my relationship with myself. I think that it's important that people sort of take that time to reflect on that.
Absolutely. And what I found really interesting was the backstory of your life before The Bachelorette. Because I didn't really know kind of where you were at in your life, where all of these big things have sort of wrapped up and you didn't really know what you were going to do. And
Yeah,
I was impressed that The Bachelorette sort of just happened to you.
yeah, and I think that that's sort of been like the synopsis of my life, is all these like crazy big things. I mean, the odds to play in the NFL were so small, and then you stumble upon a dating scene when you weren't really trying to date at the time, and then I stumbled into the casting thing. So it's like it's so strange that all of these things have happened, and I think now that I'm like reflecting on it, it's like it's God's purpose is God's mission.
And you had wrapped up football, and when you were transitioning into the Bachelor world, you still sound so competitive about it. So, how much of that football
Yeah.
training did you bring into the competition of the Bachelor world?
Yeah, I think within a year I was leaving the NFL and then into the Bachelorette, and there is no there is no just dropping that mindset of being an athlete. So for me, like scheming, preparing, I know maybe that sounds bad when it comes to being on TV or getting what you want, but out of my life, I've always schemed. I've always prepared myself to put myself in the best situations. And I've always prided myself on working really hard to be successful. So all of those things is what I wanted out of the franchise. And that means being in a relationship was my end goal. But in order to get there, you had to do certain things. So I walk people through what I was thinking and why I was doing certain things. And maybe some people thought that it was it was schemy, and I admit it was in the book, but at the same time, that's just how I was built. That's how I was raised.
Yeah, watching or reading your experience, I realized that that's the way to, I think, really get the most out of the experience is to kind of be competitive and know what you want instead of just sort of going with the
Yeah.
flow all the time.
Yeah, I think it's if especially when it's your life being portrayed on TV, I mean, you need to try to keep and remain as much as in control as you can.
Hmm. You also shed a lot of light on the behind the scenes world. I think more than any book I've read, you really talk about the producers and your relationship with them and how they helped you navigate the experience. I almost feel like this is the perfect book for anybody who wants to go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette because you give so much insight.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing either. I mean, it just hopefully helps you prepare and understand what you're getting yourself into. I love the fact that I'm with Cassie and got a successful relationship from the franchise, so I'm very very grateful and thankful. But I also just I state facts. I was very matter of fact in my book, and hopefully people could appreciate that. It was never meant to throw anybody under the bus. It was more so just to explain my situations and some decisions I made.
Yeah. Do the producers or anybody from the Bachelor world ever tell you you can't say things in your book or express things in public?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are certain guidelines and rules and contracts that you have to follow, but as a whole, I honored a lot of them, and some of them I may have slipped up or made a mistake here and there, but of course, there's things you need to do and say. I mean, you're the lead of a television show that gets millions of viewers, so that's something people might forget, but they need to keep in the back of their mind is you still also have a TV show to film and
Mhm.
promote.
Yeah. And the book is called My First Time. And there
Yep.
was much made about your virginity at the beginning of this journey. And I
Yeah.
think in reading the book, I really more deeply understood your stance. And when you talked about dating and all the awkward interactions and wanting to avoid that. And I thought that was so relatable for anybody who's dated and not wanting to deal with it and focusing on football and doing your thing and not focusing on that. So, what advice do you have for other young people who are just nervous about dating or awkward and just don't want to deal with it? What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I struggled on The Bachelor to really articulate where I was coming from, and I think I didn't even realize it until I was writing this book. But it was an accumulation of everything that led up to that point in my life, and I feel like so often people are put in uncomfortable positions and maybe make a decision that they later regret. And I always told myself I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be like that. So I would always just avoid. Avoidance was my go-to. Saying no was easy for me, and I
Mhm.
didn't want I didn't want to be put in a position where I would be tried or I would have to make a decision. So I just stayed in my room, and I would tell people if you're going through that right now, just stay true to yourself, stay true to your morals and your values. And it's harder to be different in today's society than it is to fit in. And I just encourage people to stand for what they believe in.
But when it comes to the idea of opening up and being vulnerable with a potential partner, is there something you learned in this process that you would tell your younger self?
Yeah, that everything that I have thought and wanted out of a relationship can be achievable. I was told so often growing up that you can't lose your virginity at your on the night of your wedding. You can't wait for the one. You need to get out there and get experience. People are going to think that's weird. And for me, it's like I want to share that moment and share that with somebody who I love and somebody who I want to spend the rest of my life with.
And you love Cassie.
Yes, I
And you
do.
guys found
She's
each other.
fantastic. Yep.
So what has been the most fun thing about being in a relationship with her and kind of growing through all of this together?
Man, just the experiences. I think, even we look at it, right off the show, we went to New York for 3 days to do this press tour in which we came to the Build series. And that was one of our favorite interviews.
Oh, good.
Um, yeah, but we just like the incredible opportunities that we've had to travel together, to grow together. Even the struggles. I mean, even trying to balance our relationship in the public eye. At the end of the day, we're so grateful for that because it just makes us closer. I mean, at the time we might be at each other's necks and disagree. I'm a very open person. She's more simple and private, but that's what makes relationships great. Is working through things together, communicating, and then finding common ground.
And I feel like going through an experience like The Bachelor prepared you to be quarantined together for an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
So what has this phase been like being together so much during
Well,
this social distancing?
yeah, so I have a chapter in the book called Happy Couples, and that's what you call it post show when you're hiding from all of America. You get these houses that the producers put you in. That's sort of your safety net where you could spend time together without having to worry about being photographed or posting. You can't do any of that. So I always joke that this quarantine right now for us is a mix of hometowns and happy couple. So it's like we're all together as a family and we cannot leave the house and we are locked in. So it's been great though, because this has been something for our relationship that we're going to cherish and value.
Yeah, I checked out her Instagram and she's doing some quarantine diaries, and those are
Yeah.
very entertaining. I
She's
can
got an
see you
amazing
like
family.
teasing her and just you just have so much fun
Oh,
just like picking on
oh,
her.
I pester her so much. Sometimes I don't know how I'm surviving right now. She probably wants to kill me every other day, but she's got to put up for me. She's got to love me.
I love that so much. And I have to ask in the I have two questions actually that are just for me. The first one
Yeah.
is I never really thought about the idea that they take your phones for the entire time you're on the show. What is
Yeah.
it like the moment you get your phone back? And do you remember like how many text messages you had, how many missed calls you had? It must have been insane.
Yeah, well, that's actually why this show works. Is because you have no distractions. You can't call your mom or your dad to get an opinion on maybe a situation or a girl that you have to dial in, focus on it, and make the decisions all on your own. You don't get to talk to anybody, and that's why it works, and that's how you find love. For me, I think I remember the first time was a Bachelorette, and I couldn't tell anybody I was going on the show, obviously, because of that. And I think it leaked or it got out, or maybe ABC announced it.
Hmm.
I got my phone back and I think it was like 1,400 text messages, like three or four
Jeez.
hundred missed calls. It was overwhelming. I didn't get to 10,000 emails. Like I didn't even attempt. At a certain point, I just hit empty inbox, empty inbox. I was like, I can't. Let's start over because it was so overwhelming.
That is insane. That was
Yeah.
the thing. If I don't know why that was my takeaway from whatever chapter that was, I was like, wow, that must have been daunting. You must have been so excited
Yes.
to get your phone back and then just been like, forget it.
I got it back for like, I remember I was so excited for 5 minutes and then they all started coming in. And I was like,
No.
anxiety. I was like, put it down, let it do its thing.
Yet you put your phone number in the end of this book. Why?
Yeah. Just for people to reach out if it's at the end. So if you want to get to the end of the book, don't skip ahead just to get the phone number. But I love interacting. I love answering follow up questions that people might have, and I know it seems a little risky, but let's do it.
It was such a brave choice. I was
Yeah,
like, well, do you have like a separate phone for that?
I do. I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's super
it
smart.
gets a little crazy, and I don't respond to everybody, so I'm just putting that out there. But if you do text and I'm bored one day, which I have been a lot of recently, I might text you back.
I was gonna say it actually is a good time to have the book come out and have that conversation with fans because you have nothing else to do.
Yeah, and like you said, it makes you feel a little more useful and you want to feel purposeful in this world. So right now, if I could help one or two people, then I feel like I had a productive day.
I love that. And what are you looking forward to? Because like I said, I got to know Colton a little better through this and your journey professionally with finding something you're passionate about and where you want to sort of put your efforts. And so
Yeah.
what does that look like for you in the next 5 years as far as your career and hopes that you have for yourself?
Well, I know it's probably a little cliche to say an ex-bachelor wants to keep in the TV and the entertainment world, but that's been something that's been an interest of mine since even before I was playing in the NFL and while I was in the NFL. So continuing down the TV and entertainment world is something
Yeah.
I'm very excited to do. I have a new series called Coffee with Colton, which has a little curveball now because of the whole quarantine situation. But essentially, what it is I was going to have coffee with strangers and coffee with celebrities and just really get to know them for who they are, maybe outside of their world. So that's a cool series that I'm doing right now. And then other than that, just continuing to work hard to be a host and have on camera presence. Just because
Mhm.
I was a bachelor does not qualify me to host game shows or host any type of show, and I know that. So I want to work really hard to, keep tuning up my skills and go from there.
Absolutely. I mean, TV is fun. Hosting is fun. Keep with it. Why not?
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
it.
exactly. There's nothing wrong with saying you like being on camera at all. I
No, I
enjoy
think
it
it's
and
just
I love the
about
platform.
connecting with people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's the curiosity. Like when you said you had the coffee with Colton, the first thing I wanted to ask you is, what are you most curious to learn about people? I think that's just what unites people like us, I guess, like
Uh,
hosts.
the best thing that the reason why I'm so excited for it is the thing that I miss the most from football and from my past was a locker room is a melting pot of cultures. And I'm not talking
Mm.
ethnic, I'm talking financial situations, so many different things. And I got to connect with people that I would never have been able to connect with. We shared one common, we probably, most of the guys in the locker room, I only shared one thing in common with them, and that was football.
Mm.
But I got to know so much about them just through talking through. One of my best friends, still to this day, is from Nigeria, and he accidentally, when his parents moved to the States, walked into a football meeting, and that's how he started playing football. So, hearing stories like that to me is just so inspiring that there's so much, life is so much more than just whatever one niche that you fall into.
Absolutely. It's just about connecting with people.
Yep.
And I'm really excited to see where you go. And in terms
Thank
of
you.
your relationship with Cassie, what are your sort of hopes for the
Yeah.
next couple years?
Well, well, we're still just like in the book. We're still taking things day by day, and we're dating with intent, and we're continuing to get to know each other. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing during these times, we're just embracing, and we're trying to take every moment for what it is.
I love that. Dating with intent. I think that is
Yes,
the
we don't
best
like
outcome
wasting
that
time.
can come from The Bachelor, honestly. It's just
Yes.
finding somebody you connect with and love, and you guys obviously have that. So I'm happy
Thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy for you because your book was just released and it's already on the New York Times bestseller list.
Thank you. Yes, it's a
Congrats on
huge
that.
honor. I appreciate it.
And so, where can people get the book?
Well, the book is on Amazon. It's also, I don't encourage people to leave their house to go to Target to get it, but it's at Target. So if you're shopping for the essentials and happen to see it, you can throw it in your cart. And then also at Barnes and Nobles and anywhere books are
Anywhere
sold.
books are sold. So make
Yeah.
sure you guys check out Colton's new book, My First Time. And Colton, thank you for joining us today. Stay inside, stay safe. Wishing you guys all the best.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
See ya.